I'm not sure she understands.
I understand. You want to drown Kevin so that he can go to this place where the dead people are, and while he's there, he's going to learn a song from one of the dead people, and he's going to bring that song back to you so you can sing it and stop the biblical flood that's going to happen tomorrow.
That about covers it.
Amy, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Oh, I gotta do
Yeah, you got the microphone right there.
Thank you.
Oh, you're not holding it. I was like, when is this going to happen? Congratulations on the final, unfortunately, the final season of The Leftovers, one of the best shows on television.
It's unfortunate because it's bad. No, the finals, comma.
Unfortunate that they just can't keep it going, but it doesn't strike me as the kind of show that the creators would want to keep going that long. They seem like they have something to say that they are saying and they're going to be done.
I think so. I mean, it's definitely not a case of the week kind of show. And also, when you think about it, we an hour long. We are a true 58 to 62 minute situation, and a network hour is I think 42 minutes at this point. And you just think of all the filmmaking and all the craft, and yeah. And I think they have some specific things they want to say.
What do you think when a new season starts of The Leftovers and you get those scripts? Because every episode of The Leftovers to me is writers swinging for the fences. Taking the biggest risks writers could possibly take on a network show. Or not a network show, you know, a premium cable show, however you want to define it. What do you think when you get those scripts?
I feel passive. I mean, in the best sense of like, just show me, you know. This thing that actors get into, that I get into on series television, the famous, my character wouldn't say that. You know, about the second year in, I said to Damon, Laurie says whatever you write. You know what I mean? I cannot, it is so in the realm of like incredible imagination that my job is very clear, and it's to render what they wrote. So it's like a See's Candy thing or like a Whitman's. It's like, what? Like you just have no idea what's going to happen. No idea.
Do you have a lot of questions while you're shooting as well? I don't know. Do you guys shoot episode by episode?
We do.
Do you have a lot of questions? Because things are revealed later and they're introduced earlier, and there's a lot of ambiguity as you move throughout the episodes.
I don't know if I've just become more stupid. I like lots of scripts. I don't like. I just did an episode of Veep. I was like, I didn't really understand that plot point until I saw it. Yes, I go, you know, again, but happily, because I'm not a producer on this, I get to just go moment to moment, and so I know as much as the actor would know. But my experience of watching the show is not dissimilar from everybody's. It's like, oh, that's how that goes together. I will say that in the episode that features me, all of that backstory, Damon and I dreamed up together like 4 years ago.
Really?
So that we had come up together or thought up together, and over the time I thought, oh, that's interesting. I don't know if we'll ever see that scene because that was at that point 7 years ago, but it's The Leftovers, so you get to go back.
Well, take me back to when you developed this material, when you talked about this. Obviously, we can't give it away. Your episode is coming up this coming Sunday, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so we can't give too much away.
Okay.
Unless we can. I don't know what we can or can't give away.
Well, when is this going to be? Oh, it's like streamed. I can't say anything.
We're live, right?
Oh, you're live. Okay. Where am I?
You are in New York
I've been
City,
doing a lot of
4th and Broadway.
Oh, this is happening. Okay, I'm in Leftovers head. Well, truly one of the most fun, creative afternoons of my life, and I can absolutely say that, was about 4 years ago. We read through the pilot of The Leftovers here in New York, and Damon Lindelof said, let's go take a walk. And so we walked around Central Park for about 2-3 hours, and we dreamed up Laurie. Wow. We just dreamed her right up. How
often do you get that on a television show?
Well, I do it when I create something because I'm a producer as well. So I love that muscle, and that's something. And honestly, when I was on Private Practice, Shonda Rhimes was very open to that as well. But Damon is such a kind of auteur kind of guy who I didn't know if he would be into that. So it's like, this is what I love to do too. And this is like, and then that's the engine that fuels you. You know who the person is. So, you know, things like in the book, in Tom Perrotta's book, she didn't have a job. And he said, you know, I think she has a job, and what should that be? And I said, maybe help, you know, okay, she's a therapist. Chris Zilka was a little bit older and a little bit blonder. than the Tommy, could have been. So it's like he said, I think Laurie was married before, and I think Tommy has a different dad. And so that is the stuff that I love. So the how Laurie joined the cult, that story, we had figured that out a while ago. I just didn't know if it would be on screen. Yeah. So we finally get to explore that.
And that's the first time that we really see that, right? In the upcoming episode, we will not tell you what happens or how, but we see.
But how about that person that opens the episode? Do you recognize her?
No, who is that?
You don't recognize her?
No, I didn't recognize her. Will you tell me? You can't tell me right now, can you? You're talking about the woman who's speaking to you, right?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yes. From the opening of the first episode. Screaming. Yes. Oh, my God.
She's telling her story.
That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Right. So stuff like that.
Was that in the script?
It's going to be great.
Was that in the script when you got it, or was that something like you showed up to set and that actress was there?
That was in the script.
Wow.
So that scene of me doing my profession, Damon and I talked about that 4 years ago, who I was talking to. That's the brilliance of Damon Lindelof. And I always I'm not like a crafter. My mother-in-law, my sister-in-law are like knitters and crocheters, but I always have the sense of leftovers, like he's going back and picking up a stitch. Right. He just goes back and he picks it up, and it's like such breathtaking storytelling.
I imagine that that's not something, even if you are producing, something that you get to sort of feel that often, in the sense that you have this conversation 4 years ago, and then surprise, surprise, it's sort of brought back to you.
It's incredible. I mean, Damon takes a lot of comfort in the fact that I am a producer, so all of the stresses and strains of that job, and also when you produce and then you go back to being an actor, just an actor, you don't take things personally that you might, it's like, why isn't there time, for the scene, and they must hate me. It's like, no, the sun's going down. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. And then the joy of not producing. So, like they're racing to make a shot, and I would pat him on the back, like, good luck, buddy. Like, I'm going to be in the trailer with my cappuccino. So to be in the hands
as a producer, the best thing you can do as an actress is to be like, dear thing, call me when you need me.
And not my problem. But I think that because I am such a bossy loudmouth, I mean, it's rare that I am in the hands of somebody so utterly capable. And I literally have fallen into, I said to him the other day, like, thanks for letting me live in your head for 3 years, because it's an extraordinary place to be.
Now, The Leftovers, the 3 seasons that we've seen, they pick up after a certain amount of time has gone away. So the characters have had significant changes. And I think some of the most significant changes we've seen in Laurie have been this season. How have you felt about the way that she has sort of changed and progressed emotionally on the show?
I mean, I love it. Because she started out as a member of the Guilty Remnant so hard and enigmatic and violent and all these things that were kind of awesome to play, and they're not my normal wheelhouse. But I always thought she's, like everybody in The Leftovers, she's grasping at a solution that is not sustainable, So I didn't know how, but it's like she's going to blow out of that cult. And then so I see her as from the woman that we meet in the pilot, just softening and softening and softening and just becoming more and more generous. I also really, really wanted to get her laid, so that was awesome. The John Murphy, look, they're both a lot happier. I always say to Kevin Carroll, something's working that wasn't working with Mr. Abs, but no, I'm just kidding.
Mr. Abs.
Mr. Abs.
He does have insane abs. It kind of bothers me.
We love both of them.
Oh, yeah? Are you guys a tight-knit group on the set? You can be when you're around each other?
Yeah, no, quite literally. I always say, like, this cast, we adore each other, and we're never around each other. So, like, we're just never, it's just the nature of the gig, Melbourne was cool because we'd have these dinners and these kind of, like, drunky dinners, which were awesome. Australians drink. I don't know if you know about that. So when in Australia. But it's so often in separate storylines. But I also think that that's why it's so gratifying to see characters interact that hadn't before. That's sort of part of the... I think Leftovers teaches us all patience, to be perfectly honest. You're setting up this very rich opportunity, and then you just got to let it unfold.
And The Leftovers, specifically this season, is all about saying goodbye and finding ways to say goodbye. What was it like to do that as an actress as well as a friend to these people and to the show? I'm sure you've done it before. You probably did it with Judging Amy before as well, right? Where you had to say goodbye at the end of a run.
Sadly, at the end of Judging Amy, we didn't really know it was our last, which is one of my life frustrations. Although now with CBS All Access, maybe I'll get a chance. I was also hugely pregnant at the end. I was like, see ya, I gotta have a baby. The end of Private Practice, we did know, and that was very poignant and bittersweet. And with this, I think it's saying goodbye to this. I mean, when in mainstream American culture do you get to, produce this long prayer? I mean, I think it's literally just this meditation on humanity in a way that you don't often get to do. So it was. It's been rich. It's been very rich.
We were talking in the green room about some of your early work, and we talked about Judging Amy, and the Heat came up because I love Heat, of course, and NYPD Blue came up. And I'm wondering how you reflect on that time doing something like NYPD Blue as someone in their 20s, because all the stories that have come out about the early days of NYPD Blue are that it was fucking crazy. Was it crazy for you as like a 20-something young actress, like being on that show?
Yeah, it was a little crazy. Although here's like, how about life? David Caruso's kids are now going to the school where my son goes. I met my husband Brad in those early days of NYPD Blue, and the three of us like at the school fair. I was like, holy shit.
Oh my God, does David Caruso drop off his kids at school and say things like, have a good day?
Exactly, I will let you know. I will totally let you know, by the way. But life is long and rich and really, really beautiful. Sure, NYPD Blue was insane. I mean, and I didn't know what I was a New York-based actor. I was playing St. Joan, and they're like, we're gonna come to New York. And I was just doing my theater thing. And but I will say, so I was very unprepared for some of it. But I met my husband like immediately, so I was like, oh, if that's why I'm here, that's groovy too. But I had been doing this very kind of edgy. I mean, I was like constantly taking my clothes off on stage. Like there was a lot of that. I was like, oh, taking your clothes off. I was like, what? Who gives a shit? Like I felt very kind of free and very, I'd been playing Clytemnestra and Juliet, and like it's that thing you're supposed to feel in your 20s. Like I don't know about this Hollywood thing, but I do know about this acting thing. And then once again, David Milch was like, I've been so blessed to have real teachers. I mean, real people. So I was laughing the other day because, my husband grew up in LA, and so my journey in Hollywood has been so grounded. I mean, I'm working with the same people I worked with 20 years ago. They're still great. So all of the kind of like, oh, it's Tinseltown, I was like, I don't know, that has not been my experience. It's just very solid storytellers that keep trying to tell the truth.
They keep bringing you back, keep hanging out with you, and you're creating with you.
That's right.
You mentioned Veep. You had a brief moment, a brief scene or an episode on Veep, which was pretty wonderful. You played the president of Smith College, trying to help Selena Myers get her library there. What was it like working alongside Julia Louis-Dreyfus and playing this hilarious character, kind of a stereotype that you played up as a person from Amherst, Massachusetts, who went to Hampshire College?
Did I get it? Did I get it right?
You got it pretty right. Yeah, you got it pretty right.
I am a Veep super fan, so I just want to know how the sausage is made. I mean, I'm like just such a fan. How much improv, how much this, how much that, and it's amazing to me. And people used to say this about us on Private Practice, and now as a guest person on another show, it's amazing how tight and excellent they are and still so welcoming. So I just felt like I got to play with the Beatles, and it was really fun.
What kind of direction did they give you for that character in terms of how to play it? Was it just the outfit that sold it for you right away, sold who that character was? Or
it seemed to come very naturally. I don't know, maybe in an alternate life I was a lesbian president of Smith. No, I felt, well, also what was funny is when I saw it broadcast is my hair was very, very curly, and I have these heels on, and I'm a very kind of confident person, and I just sort of towered over Julia, which I also thought was great. No, it was the riffing. I mean, it's how they do what they do, because it's like, it's like a 3-camera comedy thing where most of the writers are on set, so they just throw stuff out, but they're open to improv, and then there's this awesome thing. I don't know if Julia would be mad if I told you this, but they threw her like a page and a half. I mean, so much new material. The other thing I loved about it is, you know, in dramas, you're often like in between scenes, it's like you're sitting in your trailer listening to sad music, like, you know. And this was like, no, we have to run line. I mean, they're constantly, it's like being in a circus, like between the new lines and the new blocking. It was very, very communal, which was great. So they threw her like a lot of this speech. So then we go to, and she learned it obviously, and then we go to film it. And again, because I'm such a super fan, I realized that there's this beautiful intersection between Julia as an actress speaking a little bit slowly, trying to make sure she gets the lines, and Selena talking out of her ass. It is also Selena making something up. So I was like, there's a certain energetic thing where I'm like, right, they're just so in sync. It's incredible.
You have a new show coming as well, don't you? Didn't you shot a pilot? Or
it wasn't picked up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it got picked up.
Awkward. Yeah, I would be at CBS tomorrow. No, it was not picked up. However, I don't know if I should say it publicly, but I think there may be life in it yet. But technically, it was not picked up. Right.
Can I ask what it's about, or can you not talk about it?
No, it's called The Get. It's about journalists in the age that we're living in. So as capital E, capital P, enemy of the people. I mean, it is about journalists in this moment that we are in. So seems like a pretty good idea to put it.
Are you playing a journalist?
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm sort of. Brad Garrett is sort of like, you know, Ben Bradley, and I'm sort of like Carl Bernstein, you know, smaller nose, but you know, yeah. But I am a journalist, and it's called The Get, and it's fabulous. Bridget Carpenter wrote it, who worked on Friday Night Lights, and it's just, yeah. So there may be life in it yet.
What made you want
to say that?
What made you want to do a show about journalists? It's a softball. Come on.
Because they're going to save the Republic. Yeah, I mean, well, because I think, you know, everybody's seen a lot of cops and military and doctors, and, you know, it's like, well, how, and I just love the you know, I mean, I think actually CBS came to Bridget and said, let's do a spotlight kind of thing. I mean, it's that energy, that camaraderie, but we're not arresting people. We're just trying to tell the truth. But then after the election, quite honestly, as this situation has unfolded, she said, are we allowed to be in our time, you know, when there's, so we talk about fake news. I mean, there's stuff like we don't want to tweet like the president, you know, we actually vet what we say. I mean, there's jokes about it. So we are in the present moment.
Is it a comedy, or is it sort of like a drama comedy?
It's a drama, but there's a lot of there's a lot of riffing between, you know, it's like yeah, there's funny stuff.
And now I look at your Twitter.
Okay.
How
sorry.
If you were to look at mine, it would be even angrier.
We probably retweet a lot of the same.
I think I think I might have retweeted something that you tweeted earlier, or saw something that you tweeted and tweeted my own tweet based off of it.
Right.
How are you doing? How are you handling all of this? What have you found to be the best course of action for you as an individual to handle this? And by this I mean the disastrous fucking nightmare we call our government right now.
I mean, I think every day it's a little bit different. I do feel like at this point, true mental instability that threatens the safety of our country is now involved. So that was a different conversation than we had a week ago. I think that to see, you know, everything that I hold dear, which is support for those that need it, female autonomy, we are at this precipice, this moment, this tipping point in environmental laws and climate change, and to see somebody just go like, fuck it. It's like, wow, you really don't give a shit. And you also don't give a shit about my father was in environmental law and policy, and part of the bottom line, normally, is you say, well, do you want your grandkids to have clean air and clean water? And most people will say yes. I mean, no matter what their political beliefs are. This is suddenly a game changer about that. I stay pretty involved. I had a very low moment when Elizabeth Warren was shouted down as she read Coretta Scott King, where I did drink half a bottle of wine and wrote to Kamala Harris. I met you once. You don't know me. I just don't know what to do. I mean, I wrote to her like a girlfriend. I was like, And yet, the good news is that it is so primal for so many of us for different reasons that this thing called intersectionality really is happening. And I show up for issues that may not affect me personally, but they show up for issues that affect me. And it actually is happening. So the environmentalists and the immigration people and the abortion people and we are all realizing like, wow, we are being dominated by this violent rhetoric. And it's an exciting time, actually.
One of the most beautiful
I march
moments.
constantly, too.
So do I.
If there's a march, I'm like, hey!
I have moments I go on Facebook, I'm like, is there a march this weekend?
I know, I need to see people.
We got a march. Well, beautiful things happen when you march. Like I was in Washington Square Park when the travel ban came down, and we were all sort of standing there and protesting for the travel ban, and there were speakers, and then all of a sudden this new group came marching down the street, and you just heard on the loudspeaker, make way for our environmentalist friends, let them join the group, and a new speech started. It was really beautiful. It was like, we are working together. We are working together. Your priorities are our priorities.
And that thank you to this administration, because that was not happening before. You know, there was sort of this idea, it's like, oh man, you know, if the immigration people and then this, and it's all... It's so deep. I mean, it's basically like support for difference and different concerns and different shapes and sizes and colors and creeds. It's either that or this weird, violent Death Star thing. But now, listen, Darth Vader's insane, and he's talking to the enemy. I mean, he's like, listen, I am not good with secrets. Like, people say, I'm going to tell you something. He's like, I'm not good with it. Like, I know that I'm not good with it. This guy, I mean... Does he have the nuclear? I mean, and also it's like, he's just like a child. It's like, I got children, they got their shit together. So like, children are badass, this guy's a lunatic, end of story.
The silver lining is that, as you said though, there might be something beneficial about having a president where the Darth Vader mask is there and it's on and we can all see it. There's no guile, there's nothing hidden, there's no policy that, you know, we're not paying attention to because it's happening behind the scenes. Everyone's paying attention to all of the policy right now.
Right, we are absolutely woke. Yeah.
Right here, question.
Thanks so much for coming, and congrats on 4 successful series. That's not an easy feat in Hollywood. So you spoke earlier about how having been a producer sort of gave you a different insight in acting and letting certain things go. On the flip side of that, being an actress for so long, did it give you any special insights when you went into producing?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, I think that, you know, there's this stereotype of actors and especially actresses being sort of vain children who can't handle, like you spoon feed them somehow. And always when I produce, I'm like, we are resilient, we are smart, and we are in front of the, like, talk to us, you know? So I think just whenever I produce, I feel like I'm often just a communication device for these two camps. Also sometimes on television shows, the writers, again, because it's like, because actors can be dicks too, you know? So it's like, you know, but I'm like, no. We both, you know, I come from collaborative theater. I've taught collaboration at UCLA and Harvard. I mean, it's something I'm deeply interested in. So I think just to be a voice of that and for mutual respect on both sides. I had a co-star who shall remain nameless, but he would get a script. And then sort of within earshot of a writer, he'd go like, this script is terrible. Like, hey, it's so stupid. And then he'd say to me, like, why aren't they respecting my point of view? And I would say to him, honey, it's literally like, you know, if they went, it's like, he's terrible. You have to go, thank you, or I don't understand it, or I have a problem with it, but speak respectfully.
Next question.
Hello. My mom and I were such a huge fan of Private Practice. So when that show ended, we were both very sad. So how did that show shift from you going from primetime television to HBO? Like differences transitioning from ABC to HBO?
Swear.
Yeah, fucking it. You know, it's just it's a cool place to work. A lot of the shows that I like are on HBO. I think there sometimes can be a little bit of a prejudice against network people, so it just was a glass ceiling I was interested in. But a lot of it was Damon. I just met Damon, and we just kind of fell in love. I will say that we in Shonda Rhimes land are very glamorous. And so to go from that to Leftovers, I was like, oh my God. I was like, I look so rough. I mean, and then as my husband said, you literally went from being a piece of wrapped candy to like in this, HBO will throw you, the rougher the better. I mean, they love that. And ultimately, I love that too. But I had not seen my face so unadorned that it was like, wow, that's what bones and hair. I mean, we just weren't, the first season especially, I wasn't allowed, because I was a cult member, I wasn't allowed to wear anything. And I would try to sneak it. So we were shooting here, Damien was in LA. I'd say like, just a little blush, just a little blush. Or just like a little. And then he would text me after dailies. He's like, I see it. And I used to call him my Amish father, because he's like, seriously, you cannot. And then once I saw the show, okay, getting back to, like, I like to see dailies, because then I can get on board. So I feel like if it were today, I would say to him, Damon, let me see some dailies, and then I can support your vision. But you just feel like, what are you doing? And I look ugly, and But Mimi Leader came in midway through that first season, and I don't know if it was I just trusted her. She was a gal, and she just said, trust me, and I'll, yes, it's going to be an edgier look, but I will protect you.
She's done an incredible. I mean, all the directors on The Leftovers are great, but she's done an incredible job with her episodes. Yeah, she's been wonderful. I think we have time for one more question right here.
Yeah, so for The Leftovers, I was just wondering, what's been like your favorite like moment or memory like on set?
A lot of different ones. I mean, let's see, how can I narrow it down? We always joke that The Leftovers always shoots in biblical epic weather. So 3 years ago, it was the polar vortex. Remember that? And so we were up there in Irvington or somewhere, and it was so awful. It was so cold. And it was the scene where Liv and I are like, breaking into people's houses. And it was unbearable. It was just unbearable. But we were, it was like, okay, 3 a.m. And then we were wrapping. I was like, okay, great. This is great. And I literally remember thinking to myself, like, well, it can't really get much worse than this, and it's almost done. And then they wrap Liv, and they're like, oh, no, this is when you stick your hand into the grate to get this lighter. And so I had to lay down on ice. And I was like, oh, it just got worse. It just got worse. Here I am. But, what's beautiful is that lighter has a life. It's like I was just reading this book, which I really recommend, called The Optimistic Environmentalist. I really do recommend it, because along with all this terrifying doom and gloom, there's so much cool stuff happening out there. And they talked about circular economy, and things are not wasted. So they're either recycled or reused. And I think that way about every material, every beat on Leftovers is recycled. And when it comes back around, it's like, oh, it's so cool. So that was a good, bad moment. But so many great moments, too.
And there's only 2 episodes left. This Sunday at 9 p.m. on HBO is the second to last episode, right?
No,
the third to
that's
last episode?
third to last. So that's mine.
I'm ahead.
And then
Sorry,
there's 2 more.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Your episode, which is absolutely wonderful. Tune in. Amy Brenneman, everybody. Thank you, Amy.